Greetings all, Benny Reese West coming at you with another cannabis stock technical analysis video. Look, I hope you have a great Easter. Obviously this is out a little bit earlier, so have a great Easter and a great break. If you don't celebrate Easter, well, hey, just enjoy the holiday, right? Just enjoy a bit of a break and a bit of time away. Use it to recharge, and we can jump back into the market next week. But in the meantime, let's have a look at what happened this week. So just kicking off here with MSOS, and look, a little bit of a small up week this week. The reason these candles are red is just because of the indicator that I'm using. Once we get above these pivots here, which got a bit of a double top, once we break those, the candles go green. But the fact that we're light red means we're up 3.85% this week. Not too bad. Just hovering here around this $10 mark, as we've got about 30 minutes to go on the market for the week. This little red line here is just the anchored VWAP for the year. So we've got the second week in a row here where we're just nicely pushing away from that. So the bulls remain in control here. And of course, as we looked at last week, we're just nicely contained within this trend channel for the moment, even though we don't have another touch to the top side. But of course, we got this very nice retracement back down into the zone to make the bottom of that trend channel, and we continue to push away. And that is maintaining our nice swing structure, even though, of course, this was quite deep. But since then, this looks really nice, and this is continuing on the way we would hope. And, of course, we're hoping we can get back up here, break these tops, and just come in and maybe solidify this trend channel as something we can lean into a bit more. So we looked at this weekly Ichimoku cloud last week. And what's important here is that we're getting... Looks like this week we're going to get a nice close above that cloud, which is what we want. Of course, we had the close here, but we failed to maintain. So this week looks like we're going to get that close above, which is great. And then I just want to see at least another week, well, more than 1 week if I can, of closes above this cloud, which just helps to solidify that the bottom is in fact in, and we can expect higher prices. So as it's been a bit of a shortened week and a bit curtailed, perhaps in activity, I just thought I'd jump in here and have a look at the hourly. Now the first thing I'm going to do is just consider this week's range against the last couple of weeks' ranges. So just when we consider the ranges of the last few weeks, we've just got this nice sort of stepping stone action higher, and it's not charging away in a manner that would make me think this is going too quickly. It all looks nice and controlled. Now, what we've got here for this week, and remember, we're just on the hourly, so, of course, this represents the entire trading week. But what we're just getting here is, I like to see these markets when it closes in the top half of the range. So it just looks like that. Here's the 50% line of the week's range. So we're getting that. Okay, obviously, ideally, we'd like to close at the high of the week, but it doesn't look like we're going to quite get that here. But you never know. We might be able to tick up this 3/4 line with us at $10.03. So we're very, very close. So if we can close in this top quartile, that'd be great. Just a sign of further strength. We got it here where we closed on the week's high. Here we didn't quite, but we still closed above in the top half of the week's range. So that all looks pretty good. And so just when we think about where the volume's getting done, it just looks like we've got over the last 2 weeks, we've got this nice volume shelf building through here, where the market is more or less respected, and it looks like the buyers have really stepped into this zone to support the market. Okay, so what are we talking about? Just sort of the mid to low $9 area, but we can just see here that we've got a pretty close to a weekly point of control that's close to overlapping. So that's good. Both these points of control are in the lower half of the range. So it would just suggest to me that there are certainly, even though we spent a bit of time down here, but the fact that the buyers are here are stepping up. We came up here and we came back down to test, but again, there's been more volume and more support for the market through these zones. So, the other thing too is the stepping stones higher point of control, higher point of control, higher point of control. Next week, it'd just be nice to see another weekly range that's got a little bit of a higher high and a higher point of control, and that stepping stone action that we're looking for continues on. So I think last week I mentioned kind of what I was looking for tactically into this week, which I didn't really get. So, always looking for these sort of retracement, these pullbacks as being better value areas to try to get involved in the market. But look, I think we've got this nice, you can sort of lean into this nice kind of little trend channel that we've just got forming up here. We've got some nice touches along the bottom that we've respected. So, once again, for me, if I was just being a bit more passive and conservative, it'd still be about waiting for a pullback, which kind of lines up, this 50 line now kind of lines up with this low. So to even come back here and test this and sort of make a bit of a double low, and that may not happen. Again, like I said, that the risk that you wait is that the market will just keep going on you and you never get that pullback. That's what you've got to accept if you want to be cautious, is that you might miss the move. If you wanted to be a bit more aggressive, well, you could probably even now start to zero in on this and just think, okay, well, this looks quite nice, right? You can see here that just off this little swing that we've had going here, that the 61.8 would line up nicely with these tops where the market resisted. And that is just another little trading 101 thing where you would like to see maybe a three-wave swing back to test old resistance. That becomes new support right into the retracement zone, and off we go again. You can see how that goes together. That could be how you could approach this more tactically in a more aggressive stance into next week. So they're the things I'd be watching out for. Just jumping over here to CURLF. Now, this one's a little bit different for me, even though we've got this sort of nice swing pattern going. And you can see here the VWAP, we're a little bit closer to it. Okay, so the bulls, I don't think, have asserted themselves quite as much in this one as some of the other ones. And the other thing, it looks like here on the week, we're just on the edge. We're pretty much flat for the week. So, it looks like we're going to get, well, this looks close to a double close here, doesn't it? Around this sort of 533 mark. But, we've got all these weekly wick sort of tops in here, which is kind of, it's a little bit, you want to see these taken out, I think, pretty soon, because there's a lot of wicky rejection looking tops there. So even though the swing structure still looks pretty good, I'd like to see a little bit more progress made here, because even taking these wicks aside, you've just got what looks like pretty much it's a triple top here, and it looks like a double bottom here. So to me, I'm just sort of kind of, even though we've got this nice swing going on within, we're still kind of within this broad range that we just need to break away from. We've been stuck in it for a while. Okay, the bottom of this was made in August 23, so this is ongoing, and it's not making the same progress that some of the other stocks have made, which is kind of ironic with this cloud, because it's actually spent more time above the cloud than any other, but it's yet to definitively break away. Okay, you can even just take the cloud off, and again, you can just see to the naked eye, it just becomes about a definitive breakaway from this sort of $5.30 area and just getting beyond $5.77. Okay, that's what we want to see, because this sort of action, it's just toppy. We know this broken will be great. But in saying that, as I said last week, this is still one of the best setups, because we've just come down here and very nicely rejected away from very close to the 61.8. It's a great sign. Okay, there's no reason to expect that this is going to not at least take these tops out, seek out at least a measured move, the top of the trend channel and beyond. I still think the setup looks good, even though progress over the last month or so has, these tops still need to be broken, but the setup's good. So just as we zoom on in here to the hourly, it's the same sort of thing. I think the problem with this one is it enjoyed the big rally that all the other stocks got, but since we've got up here, we're just starting to battle to make too much progress. And now we've got we've got a double bottom and a double top, which has just locked us into this range. So even though this was a big wicky rejection, and this is trending up, I want to see this broken. Okay, that would just be our first small sign on the inside that we're ready to start trending higher and take on those tops that we've been rejecting away at. This, you can see it on the hour, it's the same zone. Okay, the market just has struggled to get through this area, and we want it to break through. And so this one's slightly letting us down in so much as we're not getting that stepping stone action. We've got basically this week's range has been a carbon copy of last week's range. They've basically been identical. So as we saw on the weekly chart, we've made no progress at least this week. But of course, we do have this reasonably solid point of control for the fortnight through this area here, which of course you will not be surprised to learn would represent about the midpoint of the range. So, once again, what am I looking for? It's pretty simple. Unsurprisingly, the point of control lies within the retracement zone. What we just want to see on a short term is any test of this and then a break away from this range. At that point, that I'd be thinking about range expansion and an extended sort of move that will come up and hopefully bust through those larger tops. That's what I'd be on the lookout for. So that that looks like it could still eventuate, but we need to get out of this range. Okay, to round off on some happier news, here we have a green thumb, which looks great. Okay, so this one, obviously we've had an up week, a nice 4.3% up week, but what's been good about this one is we've come in now and we've taken out the prior high. Okay, so that's why this candle's now gone green, because the trend has now re-established itself as we've taken out the last pivot high this week for the week. I'm suspecting that this low, this will turn into a secondary, more major pivot like this one here, but we need another pivot, another higher low pivot to confirm that. But we're pushing away. This trend channel has been tested again, it's respected, so let's see if we can break above this trend channel next week. But all looks pretty good as we just start to push even further away now from the anchored VWAP, which is showing us that the bulls are in control. So I think even at this point, I've just penciled this in, right? There's just a potential new steeper trend channel that's evolving, and that of course is just backed up by this fantastic technical setup, which is just tagged the 50% line almost exactly. And now the fact that we're going again, that's the sort of thing that would make me think at least 1-to-1. At least, if not further. I mean, no guarantees, but that's just what I would be thinking out of the setup that's behaved as this one has. And so, just as we examine this on the hourly, this is what I was sort of talking about. The other ones, this beautiful step action where we're just stepping higher every week. The points of control are just dragging up. The buyers are winning the battle against the sellers, and we continue on our merry way. The structure looks really good. Without something unforeseen happening, there's no reason to not stick with this. This looks pretty good to me. Another really good thing that I like about this week, of course, is that when we came down and tested our low for the week, which is of course right here, that just tested right back into the week before's point of control. So this is where all the volume was done, the majority of the volume was done last week, and this week's low hit it, rejected it pretty quickly, even though we've got another quite sharp wick down here that was rejected instantly, and we have just basically continued on our merry way. So this sort of stuff on this short term, this is good. Let's just, as we progress slowly through the weeks and we step, because that's what I want to see. I want to see steps. I don't want to see skyscrapers. I mean, you want to see a skyscraper if you're long, right? But in terms of long-term sort of stuff, this sort of step action through the weeks is great. And so just even looking at this, I mean, it looks like you can sort of connect these lows up in a slowly rising sort of, maybe you can even just cut that a little bit, but you get the point, right? A slowly rising trend here. I don't think there's much on the top side. I mean, you could try to channel it up, but we sort of busted through it pretty quick. But we just got these sort of higher lows going in, and that's kind of what we want to see. So that's just tracking nicely. So again, for me, just looking at this tactically into next week, I'd still be waiting for the pushback. As it sits, that'd be quite nice, because if this did manage to get back here to this sort of 50% line, you would possibly come in here, even though you sort of wreck this trend line, but I'm not leaning too hard into that. But to come back down here and test that, you could then come in and say, okay, well, look, even if it slips slightly below, I'd be looking at this thinking, okay, we've got this low here, wiki low, that, and then I'd be coming in here and go, okay, well, look, what this says to me is that this area is holding, okay. And that looks like a nice zone where you might have a crack, and you could come in even here and say, look, old resistance, even though it's not great, becoming support held, continue on. But in a word of warning, this looks pretty strong in this one, so getting back here might be fool's gold. It may struggle to get back down that low. And so even just bringing in some aggression off the last sort of swing, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, just on a smaller scale, right? Like, if we manage to get back down here, then we, you know, the 50% line that lines up with this top old resistance, and then we want to see old resistance becoming new support before we push on. You know, that would just solidify this area as being a good one, because you can just look back and see, right? You got all those tops through here, these top, that all resisted the market pretty strongly until it's broken through. Now we've just come back here and just wicked into this, but you know, maybe just a little bit more of a solid test to come back down and just see what the buyer's appetite's like down here, and hopefully we can just push away like that into next week. That would be the ideal scenario for a slightly more aggressive stance in the market. So look, I'll leave it there this week. Thanks very much for watching. If there's any other names you want to see covered, just let me know in the comments and I can take a look at those. So like I said, enjoy your break over the next few days, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.